Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us this evening on this glorious occasion, the marriage of Zach and Ashley Procyse. I'd like to start off by saying that my name is Kevin, and I've known Zach for about 11, 12 years now, and I knew Ashley maybe about a year after I initially met Zach. I'd like to talk to you today about my best friend and how he's come to grow into the man that you see sitting before you today. 12 years ago, I met Zach playing basketball in our neighborhood that we grew up in together, not more than 15 houses away from each other. We didn't know that our future best friend would be living there. We were playing basketball on the street one day. Zach picked me up for his team. Me being the short, chubby kid, nobody thought that I was much of a basketball player. They soon found out that I could actually play pretty well. I'll never forget that feeling of having Zach step out there and want me on his team. He was a bit of a crazy young man. Has what they would call ADHD, attention deficit hyperactive disorder, a very severe case. I can remember one specific time where he didn't take his medication. I didn't even want to be with the guy, and I was almost as crazy as him. We went to Baskin Robbins, and he was just off the walls. I had to ask him to actually leave. He was just always a free spirit, and always wanting people to pay attention to him, because I feel like he knew he had something to offer. And I'll never forget the person that he was when we were younger. He didn't like to, but he got in quite a few fights, mostly over girls, a couple actually over Ashley over here. But it was never a fight just for a fight. It was always to stick up for a friend or a loved one. Zach has never been the type of person just to be unnecessarily violent towards others. It was always to stick up for the kid who couldn't stick up for themselves, or for a girl when a man was picking on them. And that's one thing I've always admired about Zach. Please don't think that I'm saying the old Zach is a bad Zach by any means. He's not. He's a great man, and a man that I've become to be very good friends with. Actually, those traits that I spoke of are what have made him the man that he is today, along with a couple of other things. One of those things mainly being he had great role models growing up. His grandfather, Donald Lieberg, may he rest in heaven, was an amazing man, such a sweet man. Not even really knowing us, he would pick Zach and Ashley up for school every day. Even if I wasn't in the car with him, they would call to ask to see if I wanted something to eat from Subway. Just the type of person that you should aspire to be in your life. Just loving and caring, always taking care of his family, and anyone that his family cared about, he considered part of his family. Just an amazing, amazing person. I feel like Mr. Lieberg's personality rubbed off on Zach's mom, Amy, who's sitting over here. Amy and Clay Procyse took me in when I had nowhere else to go. They were the light at the end of my tunnel. Just when all the darkness was surrounding me, they were there to help me get through, and also to help Zach get through. And I believe some of that generosity has helped me to become the person that I am today. So Zach has never been alone in this world. He's always had people that he could count on, and that loved him unconditionally, so that he could become the person that you see before you today. Lastly, I'd like to talk a little bit about how I feel like Zach has come to trust God. The discussion of God was never something that we really ever discussed. Zach was pretty, I wouldn't say against it, but just not really one to talk about God or religion. In this past year, I've had many long conversations with Zach about questions he has about, well, how do we know that it's true? And one thing that I appreciate is that it's never been about faith. He's always had faith. It's just been about the semantics, or the kind of who, what, where, when, why of Christianity and things like that. I would like to show you a funny picture that I found recently of Zach when he was a little bit younger, and it's actually of him at a little get-together that we had, doing a handstand just because he could. That's kind of the person he is. He's just always goofy and a little bit off the wall. And this is more recently, at my wedding actually, a picture of Zach still being the same goofy person, but as you can see, a little more grown up, and a little bit more the man that you see sitting before you today, who has taken a bride. That belief in God, I think, will get Zach everywhere he wants to go in his marriage and in his life. And I'm more than happy to be there for him, to help and support him with anything that he wants to do. I would like to leave you with a little closing here. I know I can't talk all night, so I'll cut it off now before I go on any further. Zach Guthrie Liebert Procyse is one of my oldest and dearest friends. Recently, he said something to me. He said he wishes he had a little bit more of my personality in himself. I'd like to say that I feel like he does. He's compassionate, he's driven, he's just an amazing person. I'd also like to point out that I've always wanted a little bit of Zach, that stick up for anyone who can't stick up for themselves and really go to any length to get what I want. That's something that I feel like I have gathered and gained from Zach in our friendship together. He's a much more patient person than he was 11 years ago when I first met him, and that's something that I can't say enough about. The growth that he's made as a person and as a man are just leaps and bounds, and that's one thing that I'm proud to say. Zach Procyse is my friend. I've known Ashley for almost as long. She's a wonderful girl. I'm so glad that they have found each other. I love you both very much. I hope you guys have a long and wonderful marriage. And I'd like to raise a glass to the bride and groom, Zach, Ashley, a long and wonderful marriage. Thank you.